Hello my friends, Asoka here. Thanks for tuning in. So for today's podcast, the topic is going to be McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. Specifically, I just want to kind of talk about what they've done so far, what my thoughts are about the figures in general, address some controversy over the many Batman figures that have been released, give you my take on that, and talk about my excitement for the future. So just kind of an overall recap of what McFarlane Toys has done so far. So McFarlane Toys has officially had the license since January of this year. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So roughly 8 months. And during those 8 months, they have released a lot of figures. We have Hellbat, Batman, the Batman Who Laughs, Nightwing, 3 different Supermans, Arrow, Azrael, the White Knight, a couple of Jokers, Wonder Woman figures, the Raptor vehicle. So they've released quite a bit, I think, in 8 months. You know, considering that this is their first 8 months with the license, and they got the license, I think, pretty late in 2019. I think they've produced quite a bit. So I kind of just rattled off a few of the figures just now, but they made quite a lot of figures. So far my favorites have been, well, a lot of them. This Batgirl here is probably one of my favorites. For those of you who are just listening, you can't see it, but that Batgirl is hands down one of my favorite figures they've done. Their latest, wave after wave, they're just getting even more awesome. There's the Murder Machine from the Dark Knight's Metal line. And look at that guy, it's just freaking beautiful. So I think the quality of their figures has been fantastic. Out of all the figures that I've opened, I haven't had any with any broken joints or any issues. Nothing's broken. They've fallen off the shelf, of course, like all my figures do, but nothing's cracked. We've had no injuries. We've had no rush emergencies to the super glue ward of the Shed of Solitude. So I've been very happy with the quality of the figures. I've been very happy with the design. I love Todd's design process, or what he's looking for in designs, like Superman Unleashed, Hellbat, these Dark Knight Metal line. Obviously, he has a very sort of like, he wants more unique out there figures. He's not looking to just do the cookie cutter figures. He wants something different. He gave us a standard Superman and Batman, and they were really great, but for me the more unique designs is definitely what I like, and I think that's also what Todd is doing. So the elephant in the room, not really elephant in the room, but I think the biggest criticism that Todd and McFarlane Toys has been receiving is that there's too many Batman characters, that they haven't done enough, you know, standard Wonder Woman, Green Lantern type characters. I'm going to approach this topic from 2 vantage points. I'm going to address it for me personally, what I think, then I'm going to try to play devil's advocate and kind of look at it from your point of view, or people who don't agree with me's point of view. So let's start with my perspective, okay? So I've been collecting DC Direct action figures for 20 years. God, I'm old. And I've been buying Mattel figures for, you know, let's say 10 years. You know, so for me, I have a ton of Wonder Woman figures, Flash figures, Green Lantern figures. DC Direct, DC Collectibles is in a 7-inch scale, so they look fine next to McFarlane figures. I don't really care about scale too much anymore. I collect 6 to 7 to 9-inch scale figures, and display them all together in harmony. So I don't really care if they're not exactly matched up. So for me personally, I've gotten so many different characters that, or different versions of those popular characters. Again, I have multiple Wonder Womans, Martian Manhunters. I have a few of those. So for me, it's not really a big deal. I love what he's doing with the figures he's released. Are there a lot of Batman? Yeah, objectively speaking, there's a lot of Batman figures, but they're all freaking fantastic. I love the designs. These designs were cool in the comic book, and he's done such a great job translating them to plastic. In some cases, improving upon the comic book design. So I've loved all of the figures he's released so far. The only figure I haven't been a fan of is Arrow. That's the only figure I didn't like. I just didn't like that figure. It didn't do anything for me. I thought DC Collectibles did a better job on that particular figure. But everything else, man, he is just doing McFarlane Toys is doing a fantastic job, I think, with the figures they are releasing. So for me, I'm fine with wave after wave of Batman figures. I love Batman. He's my second favorite hero after Superman. These are all figures we haven't seen before. We've never seen a Devastator or a Dawnbreaker or a Grim Knight Batman or the other figures we're getting. So they're new characters. Sure, they're variations of Batman, but they are characters we've never seen before in plastic. So I've been very happy with the character selection. But again, that's me. I, again, have a ton of versions of all of these characters from DC Collectibles, DC Direct, and Mattel. So let me kind of look at it now from someone else's vantage point. So I think for a lot of the collectors out there, McFarlane Toys might be their first introduction to the DC license. This is the first line that they're collecting. So if I look at it from that perspective, and let's say I'm a DC fan who's never collected DC action figures before, I would probably feel the same way that those guys feel, like, hey, I want more variety, because, you know, I don't have a Martian Manhunter, I don't have a Wonder Woman, I don't have a Flash or a Green Lantern. So from that lens, as someone who is starting off with McFarlane Toys, hasn't collected any other DC lines before, and this is the ones they're buying, this is the ones that are available at mass retail, I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, you want your Justice League, you want the Seven, you want your Dr. Fate, you want Wonder Woman, a regular comic book version, because for you don't have any of those figures. And I don't feel good telling you to go buy old DC Direct or DC Collectibles figures from a different company, because if you're collecting McFarlane Toys, you want to buy figures from McFarlane Toys. You don't want to have to go to another company to get an old version of Flash to put next to your Batman or an old version of Green Lantern. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I know how you feel, because, gosh, in the late 90s, when Hasbro or Kenner had the DC license, really it was a Batman license. So year after year, we had Batman animated figures, we had Batman figures from the movies, and then finally, after years, they started to make some DC superhero characters in the late 90s. And I remember how excited I was back then to finally be able to buy a figure that wasn't Batman. Heck, we weren't getting any Superman figures back then, really. So that was really exciting for me. So I know how you feel. There was a time when we didn't have all these characters available. And for me personally, I've gone through a period of being able to get a very, a big variety of characters. So it's been fine for me. But yeah, I totally get it. If you're someone who just started collecting McFarlane Toys as your first DC line, you of course want the variety. You want that 7-pack of the Justice League. So I totally get that. What I will say is be patient. Again, this is month 8 of McFarlane's DC license that they have, I think, locked up for 3 years. And I feel like he is spending a lot of time on Batman. He likes the Dark Knight's metal design aesthetic, so he's producing those. But I'm sure they're going to be producing a lot of variety going forward. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of different characters. Honestly, I think it's more of a, hey, he's going to get you hooked with these Batman figures, and then you're going to feel the need to buy all of his figures with all these other weird, obscure DC characters. Mattel kind of did that. Maybe not on purpose, but when they first got the license from Hasbro/Kenner, the first lines that they produced were only Batman lines also. My friend Brad, the DC Universe geek, mentioned that at first they could only produce Batman figures, but I think it was a great way to kind of cultivate a habit of buying figures from Mattel, which is sort of like the Batman figures. Then when DC Universe Classics, DC Superheroes came out, you were used to buying them and you now wanted to collect those. So I think maybe McFarlane's kind of doing the same thing. He's starting out strong with Batman. He's going to start expanding to other DC Multiverse or other characters now that you're kind of hooked on buying the Batman figures. That's just a theory. I have no idea if that's true or not. It could just be that these are the characters that Warner Brothers wants or DC wants McFarlane to produce. I don't really know. I think it's probably a combination of all those things. So yeah, I would just say be patient. I have every confidence that we're going to get all these different characters that we want. And in the meantime, I would just say enjoy these figures. I mean, look at these figures. These are beautiful figures. You know, obviously, if you're not a Batman fan and you don't like any of these figures, you know, don't buy them, obviously, if that's not what you're into. But I would just say continue supporting the line if you like these figures. If you like them, buy them. I don't have to tell you that. You guys are going to make your own decisions, obviously. But yeah, just be patient. We'll see what's going on in the next few months. I mean, they are releasing so many new figures. It feels like every week we have a new figure reveal. And I think we're going to start seeing more variety. So just be patient with that. But I am overall really happy with what McFarlane has done. The figures are amazing. And the one thing I really like is they seem pretty easy to get after a while. When they first are released, they're kind of hard to get at retail, obviously, as most figures are. But I can go on Amazon today and get a Hellbat or get a Superman Unleashed figure. It's still available even after all these months. So that's really comforting to know that if you like these figures, you're probably going to be able to get them. You're not going to be able to get them in the first few weeks. Like I've seen the new Azrael Batman figure hitting stores. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm jealous of the people who have gotten it. Congratulations to you guys who have got it yet. But I'm sure I'll find it at Target. I have a pre-order out as well. So it's nice that we're able to get these. The pre-order thing at Walmart, that's another video. But so that's the nice thing. It's not something that's going to be that challenging to find. It seems like McFarlane Toys is really good about making their figures available to people, which I don't know, you might agree or disagree with me on that, but I've been able to find all those figures on Amazon eventually, so that's really cool. But yeah, I think it's a great time to be a DC fan. I think the license is in great hands with McFarlane Toys. The quality of the figures are amazing. I like what they're doing with it. I have every confidence once again that we're going to get more variety and more characters in the coming years. And I think, yeah, I think that's about it. So that is about it. I said that twice, I'm sorry. Anyways, I'd love to hear your feedback as always. Please leave a comment with your thoughts. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, whenever it is that you might be watching this. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.